to the top, and there's a couple guys that Woody being one of them, Jeremy, that are really experts in rappelling and just the whole outdoor deal, and we got to entrust our lives with them as we leaned over the edge of a cliff and kind of walked down backwards, and that was quite an experience. And you know, one thing I can say about that, which is even kind of new to me, is these guys that I went with, they were my friends. And I know it's just kind of a word, but I'll give you a little bit of my background, because that word kind of means a lot to me. Because I spent most of my life by myself. And during that climb, the first part, to get to the top, you got to go over these rocks, and it's a pretty big deal. And the older you get, you know, there's a Woody and a couple of these other guys are like mountain goats, man. They're just on the rocks and they're up there. It's amazing, really, to watch. And I found myself, you kind of find your own path as you go. And they got ahead of me, and I couldn't see them anymore. And there were guys behind me, and I couldn't see them, but I could hear the voices. And I found myself in a very familiar place. I was by myself, climbing these rocks, trying to find this path, trying to get up there the best way I could. Wasn't going to shout out, wasn't going to ask anybody for any help, right? We're kind of got in that mindset, I can do this, those guys are up there, I'm going to make it up to the top. And it brought back a lot of memories. It has this week, thinking about talking today, and man, and I think about all the years that I have spent isolated. You know, not physically, I'm talking about emotionally and mentally separated. And I think as a kid growing up, just walk in a household where, you know, love wasn't part of the equation there. It was just 4 people that lived in the same house that kind of, you know, grew up, and that was the first 15 years of my life. And some events that happened to a kid and a sexual nature that shouldn't have happened. There's nobody there to share that with. And then about 15, so that's the first 15 years. The next 15 years, kind of found out about drugs and alcohol, and that kind of, those 15 years helped me get over the first 15, and then those fake relationships you get in those kind of friendships, you know, as long as somebody's got the drugs and the alcohol, you know, you're friends. That was a criteria right there. And relationships, you know, it's amazing how your mind can be warped as a kid in one unnatural act. And so you all of a sudden get the idea that relationships and sex are, you know, and love are kind of all the same thing. So your mind starts, you know, going after what you think is love, and if somehow it gets perverted into you know, this drive for sex or whatever it is to kind of fit in. Something you didn't get when you were growing up, when the bonding and the rejection and the loneliness gets too much, you know, you'll take any kind of affection, right, to feel part of something. So now I'm 30, or in my 30s, and I meet this woman who kind of had the same life I did, messed up early in sexual relationships, and that caused her to be promiscuous, and started telling me these events, and in my sick mind, I like that. So now here's 2 screwed up people getting married. All the wrong reasons. And by this time I had built walls in my life that were so high and so thick, nobody was getting in and nobody was getting out. And I find myself at about 34, 35 years old, and I got 3 kids and a wife and a job and living in a house I can't afford, and all this burden of life sitting on my shoulders. And I'm still trying to figure out how to do this myself. And I got to a point at night, I used to think, if I don't wake up, that'd be great. That'd be another day, that miserable life that I won't have to live. And then morning would come and I would wake up and I would think, what excuse can I have to stay in bed and not go out that front door? Because I'm really sick and tired. It was about this time that Jesus intersected my life. And I say Terry tricked me into coming to his church. It was like 12 families there. You know, he needed a table. He needed somebody to help him set up a chair. You know, those pastor cons to get you into some place. And it wasn't but about 2 months later, I stood in the back of that church. I said, Jesus, I think I'm talking about my kids or something. I don't even know if you're real. But the truth of the matter is I got nothing left. So I need you to come into my life and be my Lord and Savior, because what I'm doing is not working. And he did. He did. There was a definite change and shift in my life. There was this excitement and a joy, and I would pray and things would happen. And I went to church and made some friends, but I had this dilemma. See, there's these people there that said they cared about me, but the problem is I could not let them get in too close. You know, because along the way in my life there's a couple of thoughts that permeated my life and kind of kept me where I was and kind of dictated my life and what I would do and wouldn't do. And these two thoughts, these two lies really just controlled where I was in my life. See, I had Christ in my life. But even with that, I was still trying to do this thing by myself. I wasn't trusting. There was still a disconnect for me. There was still something that was missing, because I felt the joy and the presence of God, but I still walked into a crowd, a church, of people talking to me, people wanting to be part of my life, and I still felt alone. I still felt isolated. I still felt separated. See, I didn't believe that somebody could actually care for me and love me. I did not believe it. I'm 35 years old. Nobody's done that yet. You know, what makes me think this is going to be any different? And there's another one that kind of guided me. If people knew what was going on inside of my head, if they knew the thoughts that I was thinking, if they knew some of the things that I did when I was alone, they would have nothing to do with me.